welcome to We Are Social's Digital and Social Summit 2025. Thanks to everyone that's tuned in for this chat. Got an exciting session today. We're going to be talking through a fun campaign that We Are Social put through London this year for Lucozade. And just before I go into our guests and go into our lovely work, a note about We Are Social, in case you don't already know. We are a globally socially led creative agency with unrivaled social media and influencer marketing expertise. With 1,200 people across 4 continents, we deliver a global perspective to our clients in a time when social media is shaping culture. That's the housekeeping out of the way. I'll now hand over to my 2 wonderful guests I've got today, starting with Annabelle. Do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role?
Yes, so I'm Annabelle Rawsthorne. I'm brand manager on Lucozade, so within Suntory. I have a background in FMCG marketing and currently look after the sport and energy range within Lucozade beverages.
And we're also joined by RVBBERDUCK, aka Ben. I'm going to call you Ben for this call. That's okay.
For the whole call. My name is RVBBERDUCK. Which is a long story in itself. I'm a director, primarily working talent-facing, social content and social spots like this. So my come up was with the likes of KSI and the Sidemen, and now taking all of the things that we know make great online content and helping brands do that.
Fantastic. And just to introduce myself, I'm Tom Brandhorst, Creative Director of Sport here at We Are Social UK. I've been working in sport for a very, very long time across lots of different brands and love it. Absolutely love it. So we're going to be talking today about how to launch a new product on social in 2025. And just to recap the blurb that you might have seen in the description for this event, launching a new product on social in 2025 requires a truly 360 approach. It's a case of aligning social, page, shopper, talent, all the different touch points from day one. So today we're going to explore how to craft a culturally relevant social first campaign that drives impact. Hopefully you'll learn how to optimize a social first shoot, ensure every second of talent time fuels high performing content. And then from concept to execution, we'll discuss how to build a launch strategy that doesn't just cut through the noise, but becomes part of the cultural conversation. So the product that we're talking about here is Lucozade Sport, Jude Bellingham's Ice Kick. And just before we go into a little bit more about that, we've got a couple of stats here that are from our global digital report that We Are Social do every year, just to really set the scene in terms of why social in the first place, why social media. 50% of social media users use their platforms to discover more about brands. 23.6% of adult social media users say that finding content related to sports is one of the main reasons why they visit social platforms. So justifying our existence and why we've done this campaign on social. But to start, for some people, I appreciate there's a lot of people tuning in from around the world today. What is Lucozade? Bella, do you want to give us a recap of what the drink is?
Yeah, so Lucozade is a almost 100 years next year British drinks brand. So we have a lot of heritage. We actually started off almost 100 years ago as a medicine, but we have evolved throughout the years. We are backed by science. We have 3 ranges: our energy range, which you can see on screen on the right hand side, our sport range on the left, and then also a alert range, which is our stimulation drink. So we're all about bringing the energy and helping you be you on form through our amazing drinks.
And Ben, how would you describe Lucozade? Like, what's your relationship with this drink?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's been around for 100 years. And so I think it's like, it's so prolific. It's everywhere. I think you struggle to walk into a shop in the UK and not see Lucozade. So it's just kind of part of the like fabric. It's like, it's one of them ones that you grow up around it. It's always there. And so when the brief came up with Lucozade, there's certain brands that the jobs come up around and you're like, oh my God, that would be so fun to work on. And ones where everyone knows the name.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is ubiquitous. You see it on from throughout your life, just on pitches, sport pitches, or people just drinking it any time of the day. I think it's one of those things you can almost take for granted. And I was same as you when we started working with Lucozade. I was super excited because it's something that has a real special place, I think, in UK culture, and how it's literally fueled everyone across different sports, etc. So Lucozade established. Who is Jude Bellingham? Ben, how would you describe Jude in 3 words?
So I think like you never know when you're working with a talent what you're going to get, but I think the 3 things that came across with Jude was like, firstly, super passionate and really cared about the shoe and the product, and as I'm sure that Annabelle will talk about, like in the development of that product, it kind of, I think, shows on set how much he cared about what we were making, that he was like super charismatic and was, you know, a joy to work with and be around on set, and that energy shows in the content, and that he's like super authentic in that what you see is what you get. You know, sometimes you think with a talent, is that their on-screen persona, is that different to the off-screen? He is one person and one person only, which is always great, because really then my job's easy, because I'm just kind of bringing him, amplifying him slightly and bringing it to life.
Sweet. So passionate, authentic, and
charismatic.
Yeah, and in case anyone watching today doesn't know, he is a professional footballer, plays for England and Real Madrid. As you can see from this screenshot here, he is massive, very popular, big fan base. From your point of view, Bella, like, why did you choose Jude as an ambassador, and how did that decision and that relationship come about?
So football is very much like ingrained into everything we do at Lucozade. So we're actually going into our 20th season partnering with the FA, so both women and men's England football team. And when we look to work with athletes, we want to ensure that it's a really authentic relationship. And Jude always talks about, like, similar to you, Ben, like he's been around Lucozade his whole life, whether it's seeing his dad drinking it when he was younger, when he's doing his football games on a Saturday night, through to, you know, his career now, performing at a top level, drinking Lucozade to fuel him kind of during and after exercise and his big moments throughout his life. And yeah, we always knew we wanted to work with someone who really embodied our brand unique value of kind of being on form. And Jude brings energy to everything he does. He kind of lives and breathes all of Lucozade's value. So we knew it would be a really great fit for a partnership.
And then in terms of the drink itself, obviously you can just have someone promote your product, but to actually be on the product, how did that come about, and why is that important, and how did you approach that?
Yeah, so we, again, always knew that we wanted to create a drink with him. It was quite important, like throughout the process, we wanted to make sure that it's a true collaboration, because like you mentioned, a lot of people work with talent, they kind of put them on the product, and hasn't always been a really collaborative process to get there. So from creating the liquid, you know, Jude tried the flavor with his family around a table in Madrid. They all loved it, through to thinking of names, working on the design. And I think it really shines through in the end product, like how much of a partnership the whole process has been, and created an amazing kind of end result.
Yeah, and he seemed genuinely invested, like to the point of going to the factory to visit, not to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So Jude came to Colford, our factory, spent time with the team, went down the line, saw how the product's made, kind of had brought his mum and dad along. So yeah, he's obviously a very family orientated guy, but he also loves to, you know, really get involved, give back to the people who have made his product happen, and really see like the nitty gritty bits of how Lucozade drinks made.
Fantastic. Got another stat from our global digital report here. 22.4% of social media users follow sports personalities or teams, which is slightly more than traditional influencers, just showing how important these figures are with these communities, and therefore how important it is to work with someone like Jude Bellingham. We'll move on to the campaign itself and just peel back the curtain a little bit to see how it all came about. Put this very, very simple timeline together, and this isn't a case of us bragging that we planned in advance. Obviously, you can see the product went live in February, and 6 months earlier we had the brief with the shoot in November in the middle. This is more about pointing out how we were considering, or Lucozade and Annabelle were considering from the very start, 360 touch points and everything. From how this was going to show up in store, to social, to PR, to the talent. Like, it wasn't just a case of something that can often happen where social or other touch points get forgotten until the last minute, or just become a bit of an afterthought, and then you're stuck with an existing shoot where you barely get any time, and it's a position we sometimes find ourselves in. And I think this was a really good opportunity, because we could look at the shoot from a really holistic perspective. Obviously, I'm not taking credit for this. It's obviously your side, Annabelle. What was the importance of that, of considering everything early on, and how you came to that decision, and how did it go?
I think when we're looking at especially a new product launch, when it's something new to the market, making sure that we're showing up consistently across every touch point is so crucial to really drive the recognition, the awareness, and ultimately the consideration and conversion to purchase. So we wanted to make sure that from social through to paid, and then finally in-store at Shopper, we were showing up consistently, and there was that red thread through messaging creative, but also flexing so it works and does the function it needs at each touch point. So we knew there was going to be discrepancies, but we wanted it to be consistent. And I think the end results of this campaign really does an incredible example of how to do that.
Yes, 100%. I think we'll come on to it in a minute with the shoot itself, but from my personal perspective, it was so useful having that up front, and from production, creative, the social, it was so meticulously planned.
Yeah.
We'll come on to that in a sec. In terms of the actual idea, so this was the very first slide, I believe, that we presented as part of that process. I think there's a couple of things here. One, I was going to talk to you, Ben. We obviously brought you in as a director, and I think something that really stood out from your treatment was thinking social first when you're doing these hero films, and making sure they can resonate on feeds and not just be sort of vanity adverts. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, perhaps?
Yeah, I think like I say, my background is I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by OGs in the YouTube space, in the online space, for the last decade, and I've been like a sponge watching them work, and their little hacks that they do, and superstitions, and click upload and turn around 3 times, and stuff like that. But there's stuff that they do that's incredibly smart, that's how they're hacking the system to make sure that people are engaged and keeping people re-engaged with certain every 10 seconds to make sure there's a beat and stuff like that. And I think that then taking that mindset and bringing it to something like this is things that can, in the TVC world, are not necessarily obvious, or people are watching it in a different way. Here, I've got a fraction of a second before your thumb goes, and so I need to make sure that we've paid for Jude. He needs to have his face first up in the opening shot, needs to be him, and then bringing in people like P Money to do the score, where you've got, I need to give you loads of reasons to watch, because there's got to be a value exchange, and it's super important that the audience feel like they're getting something from it, and then they don't realize they're watching an advert. If you do it right on social, if it's subtle, and all the branding is there, it's in the ice cube and all these different ways that every shot really kind of has some kind of branding in it, but the audience are seeing Jude Bellingham, someone that they love, in a way that feels really authentic. And it's about figuring out how you find that balance and looking after those different elements to balance them out, and make something where someone stops, we get them for a few seconds, and then they're pulled in, and then before they know it, the 53 seconds have passed and they've watched the whole advert, which is fairly unheard of. And I think it's way smarter to do it that way. And that's why when I saw the brief, I was like, this is amazing, because it's a genuinely interesting, good piece of content on its own. And all of the planning bit, all the bits that led up to this, meant that we created a piece of content that primarily was trying to entertain you, which I think is the kind of baseline for, that's how a creator would come at it. They wouldn't be thinking, how am I going to do X, Y, Z? They're just thinking, what's going to entertain and what's going to sustain the audience. And so I was trying to apply that to this.
And then from a strategic point of view, Annabelle, obviously the product's called Ice Kick. As you can see here, there's a big ice block. What was the reasoning behind that ice theme, and why you lent so heavily into that?
Yeah, so obviously, product's called Ice Kick. The liquid is kind of this icy, citrusy color. So we always knew that there was obviously a great opportunity to go after this icy theme. And in terms of driving desirability and that thirst and excitement about the product, this coldness just made complete sense. And I think from a strategic point of view, when shoppers or consumers see it again, naturally you desire the product more because it's coming across really icy and cold and fresh, which is exactly what the liquid is.
Yeah, I think that was something that stood out for me in that briefing process. Is we came at it from 3 different creative angles, looking into Jude and his style of play, the fact that he often scores these clutch goals in the last minute, and his like passion, all that sort of thing. But actually, when Lucozade and your team mentioned the reasoning for the ice, I was like, actually, this is super smart. It just means that it's got the consumer in mind, and that trickles down to everything, and means that you don't create something which is a cool campaign but isn't going to get people, you know, buying the product because they're, you know, they're feeling thirsty. Which is good.
And I think as well, like throughout all of it, if you look at every touch point, it's always the product that's ice cold. Like all other elements are normal, but it's the product that is this icy, ice cold element, whether it's in the ice cube, in the ice vault, etc.
Exactly. We've got some more behind the scenes bits here. This is, I think, the first shot of one of our initial storyboards. Do you want to chat through, Ben, maybe your process, planning as a director? We've got one of your little schematics is here as well, which we can play whenever you're ready.
Yeah. I think like again, in the social world, often social comes with the idea of like UGC or like wing it, like turn up, don't plan it, like just go and make a TikTok. Is like, this couldn't be further from that, in the sense that it was meticulously planned, and we knew this journey that we wanted to take people on, build intrigue, make it like what's inside this giant ice cube, and then slowly reveal what it is, and hooking people in with like a conventional narrative kind of structure of this, like there's some disruption, he's walking down a corridor, and then suddenly we're like, what's causing this, and then we're on this journey to find out what's in the middle. And I think that this, if you play the schematic now, like I think this shows like how much you like, this is how close to this video was what was made in very early stages. And I was like, I think this is kind of where the film's going and the pacing of it. I find this stuff super useful to go and show. Boards don't show you timings and camera moves and stuff like that. This was me. I went and hired a school hall for a Sunday morning and got my girlfriend to film me, but it like helps to understand it and get it across, and then you know, carry us all the way from this early planning stage through to like playing it to Jude later on, and him being able to understand what we want from him. But yeah, I think that's it, is when you go into it being like, we want to take people on this journey and this narrative, and then do something quite ambitious in you know, a short space of time on the shoot and stuff like that. It needs this kind of meticulous, like detail oriented way of knowing where each of these story beats are going to land in the edit.
Yeah. And can I just say, really fantastic performance from you here as well.
Incredible performance, Ben.
It's not my first one. Yeah, I think Jude was definitely inspired.
Yeah, sure he was. That meticulous element you mentioned there, to go into the production side of things, I thought I'd bring this up because I think it was really smart the way we approached this. So obviously it's in November in Madrid. We've got Jude Bellingham for a set amount of time. But the way we planned the schedule was meticulous, and it was really designed with a few things in mind. One, obviously getting the hero film made, which had a lot of different parts to it. As you can see on this diagram here, there was an ice cube, a huge fake ice cube in the middle of a huge studio, and a few shooting locations, a corridor, all around that to create that hero film. But then within the schedule, we built so many little social setups around the room, or even in the green room as he was getting ready. We created a bit of content there, plus 2 photography studios either side, so that in the window we had, which I think was about 3 hours in the end, every single second was used and maximized to create content. But not just create content, I think to keep the talent engaged. I think it's very important with these shoots that they aren't idling. And well, obviously from a you know, being efficient point of view, it's just wasted time if they're just stood in the corner on their phone not doing anything. But also from an energy point of view, I think as Annabelle said, Lucozade's about bringing the energy, and this set was full on in terms of stuff going on all the time. And 1 second Jude is posing for Ben, the hero film, then he's doing some fun social content there, then he's doing photography for the in-store visuals. I think, as you can see here, here's an overview of the content that was created, and you can see the breadth of it. There's so much that we managed to capture in this short space of time. But Jude himself then got really into it. You know, I think he was coming in fresh from Real Madrid losing the night before in the Champions League to AC Milan. So probably not in the greatest mood, but as soon as the energy is high, he was laughing on set. He was dancing on set, I think, at one point with you, Annabelle, and having a great time, which I think was really important. I think I was just going to throw over to both of you actually to your reflections on the shoot and how you found it as a day. It's quite nice. You don't really get a chance to reflect months later, but how did you each find it? Maybe starting with you, Annabelle.
Yeah, it was such a good day. I think echoing everything you said, like the energy on set, I think was like one of the best parts. Like Jude was having the best time. He was so high energy, although it was, like you say, like back to back with different, actions on different sets. He was so high energy. All of the crew were bringing the energy. And in terms of the output, we got such a variety of content. Like we've got our amazing hero film. We've got a variety of different bits of social first content. We shot our shopper campaign, which, we've used on front of store wraps for Sainsbury's. We've used in all of our retailers across the country. And I think having everyone on one set really helped again with that consistency across all touch points. Everyone could see what was happening across other areas from social to shopper. But yeah, I think the energy was definitely what I took away from the whole day.
Yeah, I guess from my side, like as you'll have seen in that shot list on the previous slide, it was like, there are 24 things on there. In 3 hours, that's 12 minutes per action. But then when you factor in actually moving between stuff, probably more like 8 minutes per action with a 4-minute little downtime in between. And that, I think, is testament, we've talked a lot about, I guess, brand and creative here, but that's great producing. I think that we had a fantastic producer, both from the We Are Social side, Jess, and Ivan from Hawaii, the service company in Madrid, who didn't really ever say no to anything and kind of just like, yeah, sure, we'll figure it out, we'll make it work, to allow us to maneuver around. And then a fantastic crew who are able to go and make this happen, and it's like, how do we rehearse this so much in the lead up to it, so that the second that Jude steps on set, we're utilizing every single second. Like you said, there's no downtime, and also comes down to those all the social bits being thought about from August, like that. All of the social bits being considered meant that it wasn't, I've done shoots in the past where the day before you'll be sat in the PPM and suddenly they're like, oh, there's also we need to get we've got our social person coming down, like they're going to capture some stuff. And it's like, what? Like, where's that in the schedule? Whereas here we knew all the expectation, the games he was going to go and play, the different bits. So the social ideas were written around the kind of logistics of the shoot, the behind the scenes and stuff like that. And I think it then led to be able to make something that you would not expect was achieved in 3 hours. Or I think actually the main film was shot in 2.5 in the end because it was so well oiled. We were like, the crew were like running around, moving lights around whilst he was over there, distracted playing some TikTok game, doing a bit of dancing, coming over. It's like, that, like you say, the vibe being good is so important because then in the film, he's having a good time. Like that whole on-set vibe is so underrated, I think, and something that in the TVC world is very much like not even considered. But in the social world, because you're going to grab him in between, he's not going off to a green room, he's going to go and do this little TikTok. You need him to be up for it and be game for it. And the only way you do that is by, making him feel like this is a bunch of professionals that know what is coming next and what we're doing, and not being like, okay, now we're going to sit here for half an hour whilst we reset a light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think most importantly, having a portable speaker with music playing, which was my main job that was sprung upon me for the day.
You took it very seriously, though. You're DJ.
Oh,
I remember.
One of the most
you smashed it.
of my life. Yeah, it's good, but 3 hours. I had to, plus Jude's supposedly liking Elvis, but there not being that many Elvis songs, especially ones that aren't slow. Like Unchained Melody accidentally coming on. Like, oh. I've got the film here. I'm not going to play it with audio. If anyone watching today wants to look it up, it's on Lucozade's Instagram. But I thought we could just have it play and reflect on all the things we spoke about there. I love it. I think it comes together really nicely. You've got that intrigue of the narrative, and like you were saying at the start there, Ben, like having his face in there from the off and having a bit of a mystery around what's going on. I don't know if there's any reflections both your sides watching it back now. The campaign's been 2 months since it went live.
Yeah,
I
I think from like even that entry point, I think having from a brand point of view, like for example, the Try bottle in that opening scene, like we've got authentic brand placement and having the arc in the ice cube without it being like overbearing or unnatural, really forced. And I think going back to that ice theme and when we were briefing it around making it feel really desirable and refreshing, I feel like it's nailed it.
Yeah, and I think from my side, like, please go and watch it with the sound on, because the soundtrack of P Money, that's all over it, and I think with this stuff, audiences are so switched on; they know exactly when a brand is like culture vulturing or not, putting people in the right context. Doesn't get it. I think that this has all the hallmarks, demonstrates that like Lucozade as a brand totally get their ambassador and where he sits within the culture and the culture that surrounds him. And I think then that's why when you see him go and share it on his channels and P Money sharing it and stuff like that, it's celebrated. It's not, you read the comments, they're overwhelmingly positive and not people being like, what's this? It's and I think it's just one of them ones. I think I look back on it as like what in that short amount of time, in those 3 hours, the amount of things that were pulled off, that it would be an achievement, I think, just to get this, and the fact that the whole suite of things that live around it, around the outside, exist is, kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, going back to that cultural relevance, like you say, P Money, the music really elevated it. I think that was something that was great that Lucozade backed us on there to let us create a bespoke track produced by Sir Spyro as well, grime legend. Like, I think it was just made it have more sort of authenticity and a bit more grit to it. But then also just think there were some little touches. You wouldn't have seen it there with the sound off, but at the end, Jude, just before he picks up the bottle, he says, what else? Jude's team were actually, they wanted him to have a speaking part. I remember that being part of the feedback. So we gave him 2 lines and 2 words. And but even that's just like a little reference to something that happened at the Euros last year. It's like those little Easter eggs, which don't just make it an ad. It's like it's a social conversation in itself. So
yeah. I think it's also, when I think the best social ads, these social spots, couldn't fit anyone else in. Like that script would not make any sense if it was anyone other than Jude in it. If someone else said that, you'd be like, why are they saying that? Like, that is the difference between a TV ad and this execution, is that it has to be rewritten for every talent and so bespoke and nuanced because the audience is so switched onto it.
And also we've celebrated how much we managed to create with our 3 hours, but that wasn't all. There was a wider campaign as well. It didn't stop there. Do you want to maybe chat, Annabelle, briefly about, we had lots of stuff going on, but why we decided to do this?
Yeah, I think already with the Hero film, we were kind of step changing how we launch products. I think within FMCG, it's not like we didn't want to go after the traditional NPD launch. We wanted to continue like building on that, which is why we worked with the We Are Social team to create a experience for our shoppers and experience for our consumers. So we worked with Social First creator Morph, and popped up in Shoreditch with a giant mysterious vault made of ice. And within it, one side, Jude Celebration, the other side, the Lucozade logo. And we kind of dropped Easter egg clues through Jude's channel throughout the day to kind of signal how to unlock the ice vault. And we just thought it made a really newsworthy and exciting experience for our consumers to unveil the product.
Yeah, exactly. And then following that as well, wanted to see how the Hero film could be not just that thing that you see in your feed. So we had social creators breaking down the film, trying to work out what the move that Jude did was before people actually going out and recreating it in London. And this one there's from Birmingham, where Jude Bellingham is from. Plus seeing P Money do behind the scenes of the track in the studio. I feel like it just has way more cultural impact and feels way bigger, and yeah, it's more exciting in terms of taking that central idea and the ice kick itself and turning it into something that's bigger and famous, as per some of this coverage here. So we're coming to the end of our session today. I've got some nice big numbers to end on, nice and positively. Results from the campaign itself. We drove or have driven so far, 39.3 million impressions, which is organic and boosted, paid ads excluded, 1.5 million engagements, and on the day of the launch of the drink, we received 13.6k new followers. So that was really positive. Annabelle, I don't know if there's anything you can share from like a how well the drink's been selling point of view, because obviously that's the main reason we've done this.
Yeah, so we're now in 14,000 stores, or over 14,000 stores nationwide throughout the kind of UK. We are seeing a really, really strong performance. So it's actually becoming one of our best performers within the range already, which is huge for a piece of NPD. And incredible.
What does NPD stand for anyone that doesn't know?
Sorry, new product development. So new product within the world, within the food and drink world, we often referred to as NPD, lots of acronyms. And yeah, we're seeing a really strong performance and really great response from all of the kind of shoppers who are trying it. But yeah, you both tried it. What do you think? The liquid?
I'm hooked. It's one of them ones. I think, I don't know if I said to you guys, but I watched someone in Sainsbury's the week after it launched, like family walk, and the mum was like, "Oh, Lucozade, new flavor," and then the dad was like, Jude Bellingham, and then they picked up the 4-pack. And I was like, "It works."
And you're there like, "I directed that." I
wanted to say something. I thought I can't even claim that in the store. It was the shopper team that got that one. But
take some credit, Ben. It was you two. The social film probably got them in there.
I was there.
Yeah. Shout out to Zeal and the shopper team, and also Wasserman on the talent PR side for that full 360 perspective. Fantastic. Yeah, I don't know if you've got any closing reflections, Ben or Annabelle, on the campaign just before we wrap up.
Yes, my closing reflection is that, like, I mean, it was so nice to see the 360 nature of it. It was like, from my perspective, a director, like beautifully run from the like I said, the production side of things and the creative that I received, and the support from both sides, from client and from agency, to just want to make the best thing possible. And I think that kind of comes through. And I think I feel some attachment to the job. As I came down to see Morph at the Ice Cube in Power League, like it's nice when you get to go and see a film that lives a bigger life than just on a screen. So it was such a pleasure to be a part of.
Yeah, super proud of this campaign. I think everything we've discussed around like the consistency across all touch points is like a best in class example, I think, for all product launches. And I think the hero film in itself, speaks volumes that we're looking at how we can leverage this across as many touch points as possible. And yeah, really, really proud of the results and of everyone's work. Yeah,
fantastic. I don't have too much more to add to that, other than when you put everything on one slide, which I didn't actually do here, but it does really just show how a central idea was executed in so many different ways and so many different places for the consumer. And to hear that it's been selling really well, and to hear that Ben's been camping out in Sainsbury's, looking the Lucozade aisle, that it's going well. So yeah, really, really positive all round. So yeah, I have nothing left to say other than thank you to Annabelle. Thanks to Ben for joining us today. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and for listening. Hopefully you've learned some little tips here and there. If you do have any questions or want to get in touch, you can reach us at talktous@wearesocial.net. Otherwise, I'll say thank you again to Annabelle and to Ben, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks.